This is John Chenal, technology editor with MarketWatch in San Francisco, and I'm here today with Jeff Embersits, an advisor and money manager with Shareholder Value Management. We're here to talk about Hewlett-Packard's earnings yesterday. Jeff, welcome.
Thank you.
I want to ask you a little bit about the top line and the overall before we go into some of the concerns about the margins and some of the restructuring that the new CEO has in place. Top line growth was 7% for the quarter. That's only half of what Dell reported a few weeks ago. And yet the PC business and the server business, the hardware, they squeezed a little more profit there. So talk a little bit about the overall picture in terms of growth right now at HP.
Right. I thought the top line was a little bit higher than expected. And again, comparing it to Dell isn't quite apples to apples because of some of the service business and some of the storage business. But I think it'll become a better comparison going forward as Hurd increases the profitability of the PC unit and starts to push Dell a little bit more on printers as well as Lexmark.
And in terms of, there's some concerns among analysts about the operating margins in the printer business. That's been a big cash cow for HP. I think they went down from 15.4 to 12.7% of sales, 270 basis points. Some of that was they changed the way that they're handling the accounting of the restructuring charges. So based on what you saw with the results of the printing and the strategy there, do you think they're more or less likely to spin that off, or just how is the printing business doing right now, if you can answer?
I think the printing business has always been the real cash cow, and I think what they indicated yesterday is there's been a slight shift in strategy. I think historically they tried to maintain the margins very, very high, 15%. What they indicated yesterday is they're going to be willing to give up a little more margin to get more printers into the field to get the recurring revenue stream from the supplies. Historically, Lexmark has always tried to undercut HP by about 10% on printers. They're not going to be able to do that going forward. I think they're going to find Hewlett-Packard a much tougher competitor.
Well, if HP is seeding the market, as you say, and want to sell the supplies, it sounds like they don't intend to probably spin that off. And I think you said earlier you don't think they will. You think they'll hold on to that.
They'll hold on to it. Mark Hurd is really, in first order, a fixer and not someone who's going to sell off businesses. If you look at what he did at NCR, I don't think there was any business he didn't think was fixable. At Hewlett-Packard, I think he'll do much the same thing. From the call yesterday and other conversations, it's very clear he has his arms well wrapped around what needs to happen at Hewlett-Packard to turn it around, take out a couple billion in costs, flatten the organization, and compete head-to-head with Dell. And I can tell you right now, his marching orders to the PC unit is we got to get to Dell margins in 12 to 18 months.
Now, he talked about the restructuring pretty explicitly, didn't give details, but said more to come this summer. I mean, where is most of the fat to cut at HP? Where do you think we'll see a lot of job cuts? Where do you see, think we'll see maybe some product, ending some product lines, et cetera? Where do you think where's the fat that he could take out of HP?
I think the fat in first order of magnitude is across the entire organization. I think he can probably take out 2 levels of management. I think he's going to probably take out about half of the VPs. I think there's room there for improvement. There's been a lot of discussion around the brain drain that occurred while Carly was CEO. I think in first order of magnitude, Mark's got to get the best and the brightest back at HP and motivate them and let them run the business.
Now, you said earlier, I think you were half joking only when you said you wouldn't buy buying commercial property in Houston, suggest that there might be a lot of cuts related to the compact, the legacy operation there. Do you think we'll see some of that down in Houston? There'll be some cuts, either management or line workers, et cetera?
Well, I think Houston, there's a lot of real estate. If you compare what Mark did at NCR, he really consolidated the real estate, the facilities, just made the overall organization very lean and mean. And there's a lot more opportunity for that type of consolidation and efficiencies at Hewlett-Packard. I think one of the amazing things is how much the streets underestimated what's left in the way of restructuring. Carly got maybe halfway there with integrating compact. There's still a lot of room to go.
Now, he's only been there a couple months. We're talking about HP CEO, new CEO Mark Hurd, ex-NCR. How much time does it take for someone like him to really get in and be able to do the things he wants to do to get the ship pointed in the direction that he wants to point it?
Right now, Mark already knows where the ship's pointed. The next part is watching his people execute, the people in place, giving them room to run over the next, let's say, 60 to 120 days. And I think by mid-end of summer, we'll get a little more detail on exactly where the changes are going to occur first. But I think an early indication is you're printing being the most profitable units already announced a 10% reduction. So you can imagine what's going to happen to the units that are underperforming.
Right. Now, last thing I want to ask you about is the stock, because given the fact that you say there's a lot of costs to be cut out of there, that suggests that they could get the operating margins higher, get the profitability up, maybe get the stock price up. Do you think that Wall Street has factored in all of the potential, the value that Hurd will be able to create, let's say, at least in the short term, 6 to 12 months?
6 to 12 months, I would say my target for this stock is about $30. I think one of the interesting things yesterday, which I wasn't even aware of, is that they're throwing off almost $2 a share in cash when you look at the first 6 months run rate. And that's without a lot of cuts in place. So what you want to do is you want to make the organization efficient, and then you talk about growing it. There's no point in growing an organization until it's gotten to the right level of profitability. So I think there are a couple hundred basis points in the operating line across the business units, and I would be very surprised if the stock isn't 30 in 12 months.
Okay, now just in the interest of full disclosure,
Right.
You said earlier your investment firm owns the stock or owns some options on the stock?
I manage a family trust, and what we bought were the 2007 20 leaps,
Okay.
which means we had a lot of leverage at the upside. We've got a lot of time, and I think as of today, depending where the stock closes, we're almost in the money on those.
Jeff, thanks a lot for your time. I appreciate it.
Welcome.
I've been speaking today with Jeff Embersits, a money manager with Shareholder Value Management. For Market Watch in San Francisco, this is John Chenal.